All right, let's get back to the conversation now. And we also see the Raw Material Research and Development Council bill is gaining momentum in Nigeria's National Assembly, with stakeholders in the local manufacturing sector hailing it as a crucial step towards boosting domestic production. The proposed legislation mandates at least 30% local processing of raw materials before export, and we've seen the data in 2024 when it comes to top destination for exports and how much exports Nigeria traded in 2024. Well, to help us drive this conversation, we have Dr. Benedict Obios as the Executive Secretary, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria Export Promotion Group. Joining me right here at our NGX studio. It's great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. It's a pleasure being here this morning.
Yeah, so definitely we've all been clamoring for Nigeria to, produce, export, and it's not easy, being an import-dependent country when you're having currency issues. We've all felt the pinch, of that so far, even when it comes to importing, raw materials and all of that. So looking at this bill before the National Assembly, it's 30% processing before you can export, raw material. How are you seeing this? Is this the game changer we've been waiting for?
Well, if you look at what the government have been recording, especially on non-oil export, when they say non-oil export growth, it's usually agri-produce, and those agri-produce are being just exported in their own raw form and all of that. This one that I'm just coming up with now is a it's a right in the right direction for government and for the exporters, for Nigeria, and for especially to boost the earnings on exports. And when they in this the value chain of them adding value to it, it makes them to employ more people. So and it also adds to the cost of that product in the markets. Like we just have cocoa beans, for example. You export cocoa beans, and at the end of the day, they return it back to us as chocolate and the rest.
So we pay more.
I'll pay more. So, and if they can even make it to cocoa powder, maybe and export it, it's still different from just raw cocoa beans. So it's if I excuse me, I heard that. I heard the National Assembly. I heard the agency involved for doing that. Look at in 2024, for example, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, they did capacity utilization. Capacity building for about 600 and something people. To be able to add value to whatever they are doing, so that they don't just export, but it should be that whether even it's not fully manufactured, let it be semi-processed goods as they export it. So I think it's the right one, and if we can continue with this trajectory, it will help a lot for our economy.
Yes, and talking about exporting jobs, definitely that's a negative, for any country, when you're importing most of what you consume. But there's also that Buy Nigeria mantra that we've been trying to push, for the longest time. Would you say there's been some kind of improvement? Because now, me personally, when I go to the store, I see some teas that are actually made by Nigerian companies, and I buy them, and I like them. We've heard, Nigerians say, some of the products, made here are not as good as what they like to import. So that's a taste issue. But are you seeing any improvement, when it comes to what's produced here and, that Buy Nigeria mantra?
Okay, I will start from what we started in since 2016, when Okechukwu Elelama was still the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, when we began to campaign support Patronage made in Nigerian goods. That is why you are seeing me in the raw Nigerian fabrics.
Yeah, I wish I could join you, but yeah.
Yes, So and if you come to our office today, I don't think our DG still have a suit in his wardrobe. Yes, all he wears is this. He come to man, this is what we wear. Initially, it was 3 days in the week, but like our lifestyle, So it comes to other manufactured products. Yes, people are beginning to be, get interest and, buying and trusting made in Nigerian goods and all of that, because sometimes you discover that even the goods you don't want to buy, including fabrics, when you go abroad, discover that they were shipped from Nigeria and just coated it from there, and you buy it higher. So even the tea that you talk about, those previous sector, the lot of the the patronage and the patronage rather has increased compared to what it used to be, because even those Nigerians in diaspora, the campaign from then also make people to know these are actually good and we are ignoring it, So it's good, and I also believe that they will continue to add more value to become competitive, so that people will totally want to be forgetting what is coming from abroad and buy what is local. So it's a good one.
And producing is a major aspect of that. Looking at production, cost of production here, if you talk to most of the producers, they say it's really high. So that conversation about power, that's still ongoing at this point, so that to reduce the cost when it comes to producing, because I've spoken to some people that deal in ties. They say they can't produce tie here because it's more expensive, because of what's playing out. And we've been talking about industrialization, solar energy alternative. Is it enough for industrialization? Because it's quite expensive, So what kind of conversations are going on about solving the major infrastructure issues?
Okay, in October, I was with Ini, was my host live on channels, and I was telling her that, and the whole world, that cost of production in Nigeria is very, very funny, because as it is, it has become a perennial problem with us in Nigeria to solve energy problem. You see that many companies. I'm a member of the National Approval Committee on the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, ETLS, that is hosted at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, ECOWAS Division. Now, when we approve a product, we go for factory inspection, and it's part of the process. In the course of the factory inspection, we want to see what the companies have produced to confirm that they are the owners of those products. You see some of them telling you about cost, that they are not connected to the national grid. Their machines are not connected to the national grid, because any blink of light or power rather, we cause serious damage. So they power their machines with either diesel or gas generators. It's only the administrative office that may be connected to the national grid. So it's a lot of problem in Nigeria. You look at maybe what you call the band A, the band whatever and all that. Why don't you, if you want to give manufacturers band A, give them band A and reduce the cost, because so that they can be competitive. So that's what have actually eroded the issue of devaluation of the naira. Actually, when the currency is devalued, the country where you are manufacturing that product and once you export, you make more money. But the cost of production and the infrastructural deficiency that we are having, is it roads? Don't let us go to the issue of even logistics. Logistics which have eaten up the fabric of manufacturing today. If you are moving from here to let's say Ghana now. Last week Thursday, the Minister of Industry and Investment had a program on cost of freight. I was representing my chairman, Ms. Sodiri Rewa Megisin, the chairman of Man Export Group. So I was representing her. I was on the top table and I'm presenting her, welcome address. In the course of that program, I discovered that most of our members, they were even telling us that it is like this adage in Nigeria, that it is the near length of the tree that makes the monkey to be a smart animal. Meaning that if you export to Ghana, you'll be competitive. But if you export to further ECOWAS countries like Liberia, you won't be competitive. Why? Logistics would have eaten up what you have. So the infrastructure deficiency is still a major problem. Now it remains. I saw that for 2025 there is a projection that export should be $10 billion, because they have the $5.4 billion for 2024. I said, what beautiful, but it's laughable. Why is it laughable? The things that need to be fixed, such as infrastructure, especially catering for the issues of logistics, it's not there. It's not there. So if you cut, okay, the cost of 20 food containers in Nigeria now is about $3,000 to $4,500. You guess? Whereas in Ghana it's lower. In Kenya it's a little bit higher than that of Ghana. Then when you go further to India or China, it's far, far lower. And you expect those, how do you expect those to compete? You get, even those that are selling agri-produce, 1 kg of cashew nut is 13.8 dollars. Do you understand? For 1 kg. Now, multiply by the number that we're going to be, the quantity are going to be in a ton. Or you know, so it is still very, very high. Infrastructure needs to be seriously looked into by the federal government of Nigeria. So before they can begin to say, well, because we have put A, B, C, D in place, this A and B growth is expected, and it can happen.
So it's a multiplier effect,
yes,
you know, by sorting out all of those
exactly
underlying issues. All right, so you did talk about AFCFTA, and we would definitely like to see Africa trade with Africa more. Looking at this trade bloc at this point, what trends are you seeing, you know, so far? Because we've been talking about African countries actually taking advantage of AFTA, but it's been a couple of years now. What are you seeing play out?
You know, AFCFTA is a very beautiful platform that, the largest in the world, 54 countries coming together to trade borderless, and as in a gradual borderless manner, let me put it that way. Fine, but how ready are we? It's still boiled down to infrastructure. Do you understand? Now, for you to bring a container of whether sesame seed or cashew nut, from Kano to around Lagos by the expressway, maybe Magboro, around Prayer City, that environment, is about 1.3 million naira. Now, from there to Wharf, where you are Tinkan or Wharf, where we pay around 600,000 naira. All these things are factored into the cost of production. And at the end of the day, your export margin, your profit margin will be low. So for us to actually benefit on AFCFTA, infrastructure is very key. If you are bringing goods from Onitsha to Lagos, if you are bringing goods from Kano, from Adamawa to Lagos, there should be a rail system that government will have in place whereby they can come at night. And that brings me to this. When in 2015, exactly 10 years ago, when President Buhari was still president-elect, my late chairman, we worked together then, and we presented to him some things they should do from Manning, some things they should do for them to have a better export, breakthrough in Nigeria. But infrastructure was part of those things that we look into. We looked at our Papa gridlock and other things like that. We also consider suggestions to them, developing other ports. You know, this congestion we are having, you want to export to Kenya or South Africa or Burundi or where you want to export to. And from our Papa, you are taking 3 weeks for you to get your stuff loaded into the ship and all that. You know, but if you develop, expand Calabar port very well, you expand Warri very well, and you go to normal parts, maybe even, there's even a port in Enugu that is not underdeveloped, you know, whether Enugu or Ebonyi, one of those two states. Do you understand? So if the federal government can expand it like what they did in Brazil, like the Santos port, they expanded it. So if we can do this as a country, if we can make infrastructure good and reduce the cost of energy, fine, Nigeria would be the best to benefit from AFCFTA. Right. But as it is now,
we're still struggling.
It's still a very funny job.
I can imagine. All right, well, I'm sure you've been hearing about the tariffs, you know, so far playing out in the global trade space with counter tariffs, retaliatory tariffs, and all of that, you know, playing out. How are Nigerian producers and exporters looking at this? Is it a challenge, or are we finding some kind of opportunities with what's playing out with the top economies?
Actually, tariff retaliations is like human quarreling. You know, let me put it that way. So as it is now, there is no way it will not send bad signals to the countries like Nigeria, especially if the country where they want to export to is where this tariff and bans are be placed. You know, so because the way those countries will be retaliating, it will cut across board. They may not do that to America alone that are exposing the tariff. Do you understand? So
because I see our top export destinations in 2024: United States,
Yes.
France, Spain, Netherlands, and India. So we see the U.S. is #1 there.
Yes, yes. So it sends some signals, some very bad signals to manufacturers. So they want to wait a little bit and see whether the coast will be clearer, or whether maybe when other countries begin to retaliate, whether Donald Trump may want to have a second thought. And so before the sale. So it's not going to be business as usual. Whenever there's retaliation, it doesn't make business to be as usual.
Right. So are we, because at the end of the day, when President Trump slams tariffs on maybe agricultural produce coming from Canada, take for instance, with about 25%, but we hear farmers are crying, that's U.S. farmers are crying about those tariffs. So he might change that. But do you think we can find some kind of opportunity to, find a way into that market?
Actually, there's a program with the American government and Africa. It's called Africa Growth and Opportunity Act. I stand talking with you, and I'm an AGOA's advisor. Except if Donald Trump wants to put a tariff across to affect already existing bilateral or multilateral agreement with African countries. Do you understand? So Nigeria is an AGOA member country. So if they want to export, provided the product is within the 6,800 plus products that is under AGOA. So if it's any of such product, I do not think that Donald Trump will go beyond going into placing tariff on products that are within the multilateral trade agreement. I don't think we do that.
Right. Oh, well, definitely we need to find opportunities, with whatever issues are going on right now in the global space. Well, thank you so much. I was speaking with Dr. Benedict Obiosa, as the Executive Secretary, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria Export Promotion Group. Thank you for coming on.
It's a pleasure, Ladi. It's a pleasure having
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.